And what's going on, people? How y'all doing today? It is Cash Sports. I'm glad to be back here with y'all again. Y'all already know what it is, man. I'm Cash, and I'm saying it again. This is Cash Sports Podcast. Thank you very much. It is a wonderful Tuesday, right? And football, another week of football just concluded, right? We were just watching the Chiefs and Raiders last night, or at least I was. So for anybody who's not aware, I'm just putting them on. But I mean, who doesn't know what game is on on Monday night, right? Um, so you already know what it is, right? I'm just gonna have a conversation with y'all about what's been going on, at least in this past week. I got some notes. I'm a little prepared today. You feel me? So I understand. Yes, the channel is growing more and more. So I understand the fact that I do have to prep more for these situations, right? I need to have my notes together. So got some things for y'all, man. Shout out to Void though. Thank you for the thumbs up as per usual. But before we get into the conversation, before we get into the topic, please like and subscribe to Cash Sports Podcast. I would graciously appreciate it. Because once again, it just helps the channel out, and hit that notification button so whenever we go live stream, you guys can tune in whenever. And also, welcome to Cash Sports. I know you guys see that Cash app at the bottom of the screen that's going from right to left right there. If you guys would so graciously donate, obviously anything helps. It would come back into the podcast, and it's only going to get better from here, right? So let's get into it. Not going to waste any more time. Week 5 of the NFL season just concluded. Yesterday was Chiefs versus Raiders. Let's start off with that, right? So yesterday, Chiefs it was another statement game, man. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, I don't care what anybody says, in my opinion. Patrick Mahomes is the leading MVP for this season. I don't care what anybody says. It's not Lamar Jackson anymore. It's not Josh Allen, right? Even though Josh Allen has been playing phenomenal, he's been playing really good. I mean, he had over 300 yards passing, and I believe 4 total touchdowns in just the first half of football against the Pittsburgh Steelers. But right, Pittsburgh Steelers are not the same steel curtain that they used to be. They are hit with a lot of injuries on the defensive end. I mean, come on, they don't even have T.J. Watt, who is a sack leader last year. But I'm not gonna hold that to him. I mean, he was still able to put up numbers as per usual. I mean, he's the leading MVP favorite before the season even started, so he's doing what he's supposed to do. I mean, the Bills right now, they're just one of those teams who are just from top to bottom. They have everything covered. They have an elite roster, but even they have injuries, right? Even they have some things going on their end. But as long as Josh Allen is the quarterback, everything still seems to stick together. But like I said, we're going to go back to the Chiefs and Raiders game, because last night it was a very exciting game. Chiefs won 30-29, and there were a lot of mistakes that we could have pointed out in the beginning. Chiefs were down 17-0 in the first half of that game. So in the beginning, it seemed as if that pass rush from the Raiders, we got Chandler Jones on the Raiders. He was definitely applying some pressure. And then you have Max Crosby on the other end, who's they were able to get through that line, right? And so Devontae Adams and Derek Carr, it seems like, the chemistry, with the fact that they were able to connect with each other during that game, you can see the chemistry between these two guys. They were making plays happen. It's just the fact that Chiefs made more plays when it mattered most in the end. And let's throw this out here too. There were a lot of penalties. There were crucial penalties, that happened that changed the projection of this game, or changed the projection of how this game was supposed to end. And I'm not talking about that roughing the passer call, that happened earlier in the game, because that was in the first half, even though it was a bull job ass call, right? And later on, you had 51 on the Las Vegas Raiders. They were supposed to Kansas City Chiefs, I don't remember what quarter it was. It might have been the third or the fourth, but I know the Kansas City Chiefs, they were in their own side of the field. They were kicking a field goal because they were 3 and out, and then so we're kicking a field goal. And I believe the Raiders, number 51, was called for a holding call, right, I believe it was like 4th and 13, 4th and something, and he was called for a hold, and that gave the Chiefs an automatic first down. And then key highlight of the game, because I mean, hey, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he had 290 something yards passing, 4 touchdowns, but those 4 touchdowns went to one guy, and that's Travis Kelce. So Travis Kelce had a 4 touchdown game, something that hasn't been done by a tight end since 1985 by Kellen Winslow Sr., who was on the Chargers, right? Somebody who is also in their division. So bottom line is, or at least what I get from this game, first off, Raiders are in trouble. They still have a tough schedule ahead of them. This division is still tough. They got to face these guys at least twice again, or at least one more time in the year. We know that they have to go against the Broncos once. They definitely got to go against the Chiefs again, and Chargers, right? So all 3 of these teams are not going to be easy. Except for the Broncos, maybe. Russell Wilson ain't looking exactly like Mr. Nice Guy over there. He's looking pretty pedestrian, if I may say so myself. But that game, what I took from it the most is just Chiefs are here, man. Despite losing Tyreek Hill, it's looking like this is officially Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid's team. Not to say that before, it implicated anything else, but people were saying, Tyreek Hill is the most explosive wide receiver we've ever seen. This offense is not going to be the same. It's bumpkiss, it's bogus, it's bull job. It wasn't happening. As long as you got that quarterback, as long as you got the Virgo Viper, Patrick Mahomes boy back there in that backfield, you have some receivers to throw to, you have a line, doesn't matter. Give it to Patrick Mahomes, and he's going to make it happen. But what cost the Raiders this game was the fact that I know that the penalty, which I mentioned on that field goal attempt by the Kansas City Chiefs, one, that cost them, because you can't give the Chiefs second opportunities to get in the end zone. And not to mention, when they scored a touchdown with that bomb from Devontae Adams, I don't know off the top of my head whether it was how many yards it was, but everybody knows, if you're watching that game, you saw that bomb, right? That Devontae Adams caught in the end zone. And they decided to go for 2 instead of going for 1. And Derek Carr handed the ball off to Josh Jacobs. And as we know, they didn't get the result that they had hoped for. Now, I was pretty on the fence. I mean, I can understand why the Las Vegas Raiders would go for 2 in that situation. I mean, because, hey, you're going against the Chiefs. This is a high-end offense. And at the end of the day, your defense ain't exactly making the necessary plays to stop the Kansas City Chiefs, even though they were applying some pressure on Patrick Mahomes. I saw it. I hope you guys saw it. But that defense, they were just on the fence on their defense. I didn't think Josh McDaniels had complete faith on whether his defense would be able to stop that Kansas City offense. Because coming out of the gate, I think in the second half, or they were like 3 possessions, where the Kansas City Chiefs throughout the season have like a 70%, I believe it's 73% percentage of scoring in the red zone. And then yesterday they were 3 for 3 in the red zone. That was during the game. Obviously, it might have been 3 out of 4. We might not know, but it definitely was 3 of 3, because when they were in the red zone, I mean, hey, you had Travis Kelce catch 4 touchdown passes and only have 25 receiving yards throughout the game, right? So that's that on that Monday night game. So I'm gonna go over some notes and talk about some key things that I noticed and I do want to talk about in this Week 5 NFL season. So, right, biggest takeaway: my New York Giants, baby. Woo! That's what I'm talking about. We got that dub, baby, against the Green Bay Packers. I know. I didn't have faith. You want to know why? I'm going to keep it a stack here. I'm going to keep it 100 here, man. I've had faith for a long time in this team, even during the losing seasons. I'm telling you, I had faith during these losing seasons, and it was sad, man. It was sad. I mean, one day I was at a game in Los Angeles where the Giants came out, and obviously I'm rooting for my team. I'm rooting for the New York Giants. And this guy was just talking hella shit right next to me, man. I couldn't do nothing because we was down like 33-7, man. So at the end of the day, I'm more so happy that the fact that the Giants are just being competitive. They're winning these games instead of last year with bum ass head coach Joe Judge. Who shouldn't have been the head coach anyway. He was talking a big game because of how they played throughout the game, but it doesn't matter, man. If you're not winning games, it doesn't mean shit. So that's how I look at it. But I'm very excited to see what I'm seeing from the Giants. We are hit with so many injuries. I mean, even as a Giants fan, man, I was rooting for them. But how can I take my team in that situation against the Packers? I mean, we were underdogs against every spread. We were down to 3 receivers, right? 3 receivers. And it's not like we even have like an Aaron Rodgers situation, or we have a Patrick Mahomes situation where we have a quarterback that can make it work. I mean, we had Daniel Jones, you know what I'm saying? And by the way, you know what? I'm going to come out on air because I know I've came out and disrespected Daniel Jones for a long time and calling him Daniel Doodoo. But I'm going to retire that nickname. I'm going to leave it alone, man. I'm not going to keep calling this dude Daniel Doodoo anymore. One, is just outright disrespectful. And 2, he played his heart out. He came out and he showed some grit. He came out. He's not turning over the ball as he used to, which is fantastic. If he wasn't turning the ball over the way he was, if he's not turning the ball over the way he was, then we could definitely see something happen with Daniel Jones. But it's all about the development of Daniel Jones. And clearly, we did not have anybody in the front office to have that sorry, I'm looking for the word, that development for Daniel Jones. But now with Brian Daboll, who was a former offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, he's certainly looking like, he's making it happen with the pieces he got. We're hit hard on the offensive end. I mean, Daniel Jones yesterday, he had a bum ankle and was still able, I believe, to have a 70% completion percentage, over 200 yards passing, and he made it happen, man. He made it happen. That offense, even though it's primarily ran through Saquon Barkley, man, I'm so proud to see Saquon Barkley, even though he had a little scare, out there, with the shoulder injury, but he came out, did his thing, and now it's looking like he's the leading he's the leader in the NFL for total scrimmage yards. First time, or the last time a Giants player did this, guess who? Was Saquon Barkley in his rookie year. Yes, that's right. So it's very exciting to see. I mean, if we get, you know what though? If we can get rid of Kenny Galladay's bum ass on our team, and then and we could get some receivers, anybody, we could probably trade for DJ Moore. I mean, god damn, man, we are sorry at wide receiver. And it's not like we had sorry receivers. I think we have pretty good receivers. It's just that Sterling Shepard, he's hurt. Cardavius Toney, he's hurt. It's Darius Slayton. I know he was playing, but he had like 70 something yards, which was like the most a Giants receiver has had this year. And I like what Brian Daboll is doing with Daniel Jones. It's more like a West Coast offense. He's not trying to keep the ball in Daniel Jones' hands for that much longer. Just pop, throwing it out there as quickly as possible, getting to receivers and letting them get yards after the catch. But next subject, right? Because I don't want to just keep talking about the Giants all day. There's other things that we can talk about. Is the Cowboys, right? We're going to keep it NFC East. Dallas Cowboys are looking good. I can't lie. I was shitting on them in the beginning of the year. I said what? They were going to go. They were going to go 9-8. But hey, it still can happen. It still can happen. But that defense is just looking so elite, right? The Cowboys defense, even though Cooper Rush only had 102 yards passing, he still looked fantastic. He still looked really, really good. Just with that offense, it's the chemistry. More so, when I talk about really, really good, I'm just talking about from the chemistry standpoint. That defense, though, is certainly top 5, if not top 3. They held the Los Angeles Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions, to just 10 points, and the only score that they had was that one run with Cooper Cup. He's gonna do his thing, obviously, right? So with the Cowboys, they're just looking. Michael Parsons, he's a dog. DeMarcus Lawrence, they're dogs. I mean, Trayvon Diggs, even after the off season that he's had with so much criticism and with the pass in his rookie year, with them holding over his head about how many yards he's given up as a corner, and he's been playing well too. So we got to give shout out to that also. And also, so with the Cowboys, people are talking about with a QB controversy that there could be some controversy between Cooper Rush and Dak Prescott. Now, do I believe that situation, that it should go in that situation? I don't believe so. I mean, you went all this way through to pay Dak Prescott. I mean, Dak Prescott to me is a better quarterback than Cooper Rush will ever be, in my opinion. I mean, Cooper Rush, for the better part, he doesn't turn over the ball, which is really good, but just not turning over the ball is not enough. You have to be able to, be that guy to capitalize when the moment strikes, right? So what I mean by that is, when it comes down to the last seconds, when it comes down to that last drive and the team knows that you have to throw the ball to win the game, we're going to have to see, we need to see Cooper Rush in that predicament. It's very easy to do that when you have a really great defense that can hold down points. And not to mention, they did score a touchdown, I believe, when the Rams were on offense. And then I think it was DeMarcus Lawrence who ran it in, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then they also did block a punt at their end of the field, right? So next thing I wanted to talk about also was the Saints. One of the most impressive performances of the week. Got to give a shout out to Taysom Hill, right? They were playing against the Seattle Seahawks, right? Taysom Hill had 112 yards rushing with 3 touchdowns on the ground and a 22-yard touchdown, and returned 3 kick returns for 69 yards, right? So he was doing his thing. Taysom Hill, I mean, he was the biggest reason why they were even able to come out with that win. But that game was extremely exciting. I was watching it on Red Zone. It goes back and forth, so I can't catch every little single thing. But I know Geno Smith has been playing very phenomenal. I did see that play where that Geno Smith threw to DK Metcalf, which could have potentially put the Seahawks up, but that killed them in the end. Geno Smith also has been playing phenomenal, better than Russell Wilson, I may say. He had 3 touchdowns that were at least 30 yards plus, 150-yard bomb to DK Metcalf, and a 35 and a 40-yard bomb to Tyler Lockett. All right, so Geno Smith, man, he's playing really well. He has more touchdowns than Russ in the He has more touchdowns than Russ in 3 weeks. So Geno Smith has more touchdowns in total than Russell Wilson has in the first 3 weeks. Yes, you heard that right. Geno Smith has more touchdowns now than what Russell Wilson has produced in the last 3 weeks, right? So the thing about Russell Wilson, let's flip the script. Russell Wilson, man, it's not looking good for Buddy, man. That offense looks putrid. I don't care what anybody says. For somebody who was the offensive coordinator for the Green Bay Packers, Nathaniel Hackett, I believe, you used to have Aaron Rodgers. I mean, we got to start looking at these guys, these head coaches and these offensive coordinators. And if you have really good head coaches, we got to stop giving these guys so much credit, man, because I don't see this offense that, that we've seen in Green Bay. It looks really pedestrian, even though part of the blame, or a lot of the blame, should be going to Russell Wilson because he's throwing some really bad interceptions. I mean, it's like, bro, what are you doing? Come on, man. Like, what's going on? That's what I'm saying, But a lot of people are very critical of Russell Wilson, even on Good Morning Football, I believe, where they were saying, Russell Wilson is going all Hollywood and going all movie star and thinking that, he's too good to talk to anybody. Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I'm not gonna really comment on that, because I don't really have first hand account experience on that situation. But at the end of the day, man, it's all about what you do on the football field. And right now, there were a lot of expectations for the Denver Broncos to perform in this year and to potentially go to the playoffs. But as of right now, that offense is not looking like it's supposed to, and then so that could potentially hurt them down in the future. But it is just 1 month so far down in this NFL season, so we're definitely gonna have to wait in the future to see how it plays out for the Denver Broncos. But as of right now, Chiefs are taking this division, and it's not even second. I'm not even second guessing it. And I remember, yes, I do remember, I was wrong. I did say the Chiefs weren't going to win this division, but I'm clearly wrong, and I'm saying it now. The Chiefs have this division, right? It's. I'm gonna just leave it there. So what is next? So another thing that I do want to talk about, nothing too crazy about this game. The Patriots shut out the Lions. I believe it was, what was the score for that game? Let me see. Yes. But I do know that they show 29-0. So yeah, I was right in my head. So they 29-0. And they held they held the Detroit Lions to being 0 for 6 on fourth down. Yes, one of the highest scoring offenses in the league, the Detroit Lions, shockingly enough, was 0 and 6 on fourth down. So that New England Patriots defense, even though it hasn't been, one of the best defenses that we've seen in the past, Bill Belichick is still, one of the best coaches, if not the GOAT head coach, as far as we know, and still trying to make things happen. And switching the subject just a tad bit here, we've only had two rookies start this week, which were Bailey Zappi for the New England Patriots and Kenny Pickett, right? So they did blow. I mean, it's not really a shocker, even though the Detroit Lions do have a really good offense from what we've seen, or at least a good enough offense. They're one of the worst defenses in the league, right? So Bailey Zappi in the past 2 weeks has been showing, quite a bit of something. Not gonna hold you there. He's been showing something here and there. Even though he was 17 for 21 and threw for 188 yards, one touchdown and one interception. I mean, he's doing enough not to mess it up. I mean, Stevenson on the ground had 25 carries for 161 yards. So you can see, New England doesn't stray away from their running game when it comes down to it. All right. Now, when it comes to Kenny Pickett, this for the Pittsburgh Steelers, I mean, this is the Pittsburgh Steelers I don't think I would ever see in my lifetime. Nonetheless, under a Mike Tomlin team, right? The Pittsburgh Steelers got blown out by the Buffalo Bills. I mean, it's kind of predicted. I mean, they don't have no line. They're hit with injuries on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, it's rough for the Steelers right now. It definitely is rough. But there is a lot of promise with Kenny Pickett, right? Even though some people gave me shit for saying, about his interceptions and whatnot, but come on now. You can only go so far, with that argument to say, our interceptions aren't his fault and this and that and whatever. At the end of the day, you have a plethora of other receivers that you could pass to, depending on the coverage, the scheme, and just, a bunch of other things, man. But at the end of the day, it all comes down to what you see on the stat line. But from what I've seen, man, Kenny Pickett, the way he's playing, he definitely has that character. He definitely has that grit. He has a personality to be a leader. I mean, in that game, he completed 34 for 52. And then he thrown for 327 yards for 0 touchdown and just 1 interception. So just imagine if the Steelers had a better line, because they have Najee Harris, which I think is a really good running back, which I can hope, can stay healthy with this messed up line. And I can say the same for Kenny Pickett. And then you got George Pickens, Chase Claypool, I hope, who can redeem his career or redeem his season. Because as of right now, he is looking like he's not really, on the 4th Street. and I believe Washington also, who's one of the receivers for the Steelers. So he has weapons. The Steelers do have weapons, but the fact that they've prolonged fixing up this line for so long, it's starting to bite them in the butt. So hopefully the Pittsburgh Steelers, can get their injuries, can get the players that they have gone back from injury, and you already know they're in desperate need to draft a better line from here on out, right? Also, Falcons, right? They could have had a comeback against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, or at least the Falcons, have never beaten Tom Brady throughout his career. I believe that they're 11 or 0-11 against Tom Brady. So that's rough. That's rough to hear, man, when you can't beat a guy. You faced him, 11 times throughout your career and you still can't beat him. But there was a particular call, right? Again, roughing the passer call that was called on the Atlanta Falcons, which was on third down and could have basically given the ball back to the Falcons. But as we know, it was called on roughing the passer. And then so the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to get the ball back and then capitalize on that opportunity. So with these things, with these roughing the passer calls, I mean, it's starting to be ridiculous now about how you can even tackle these guys, and it's weird. It's honestly a weird situation. I mean, I've played football. If you're tackling a guy, you're not thinking about how you're gonna fall on him. It's like all these rules are basically against the defense. They're making these rules. The NFL are making these rules for the offense. And I can understand a defensive game isn't as exciting. It's not an exciting game to see the defensive game. You want to see more offense. But come on now. You can't be changing these rules about, how to even tackle, because in the heat of the moment, NFL, it's a really fast game. You can't really I know it's hard to make these calls at a split-second decision, but just imagine you going up to a guy and trying to tackle him. I mean, at this point, you might as well just have two-hand touch on a freaking QB at this point, But I do know that the league are possibly looking to start challenging calls like these in the near future, because they have to get these right. Just imagine in a situation where if that was a playoff game, or if this could have decided the game, that would have been a disheartening thing, and those refs heads probably would have been on spikes, no pun intended, right? And another thing, so big deal, big things that we need to take away, at least from this week, is the Rams and Cowboys, right? I believe that was the game of the week. So the Rams have faced two of the best defenses in the league, the 49ers and the Cowboys. But in those games, Matthew Stafford was sacked 21 times, right? He was sacked 21 times in the season so far. Ooh, that's rough, man. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he might be the leading sack leader, or the quarterback who's been sacked the most. I may or may not be mistaken. So please fact check me on that one, right? So the Rams offense is definitely concerning. I mean, they can't block worth a damn for Matthew Stafford. And Matthew Stafford isn't one of those quarterbacks who can scramble and get out the pocket. I mean, they need to protect this guy. And also with Matthew Stafford's case, you can't just keep throwing to Cooper Kupp, man. You gotta explore other options, man. You have Higbee. You just signed Allen Robinson to a multi-year deal. Start giving it out to these guys, especially, start running the ball more. I mean, you had Cam Akers, even though he wasn't there last season. I think this Rams offense is starting to become very one-dimensional, and it's starting to show. Last year, yes, he was throwing to Cooper Kupp continuously, and that's the reason why he had a triple crown. But now you're starting to see defenses adjust. You're starting to see teams trying to take away Cooper Kupp as much as possible, because anybody in their mama knows that Matthew Stafford is going to throw to Cooper Kupp, right? So that was one of the biggest things. So I would definitely say the Rams certainly have a lot to worry about, because later on in their schedule, they do have to go against the 49ers and the Bucs. So two defenses, right? We already know the 49ers have one of, if not the best defense in the league so far, but they do have some injuries on their end. And then the Bucs, right? they can lock you down. They have some gritty defense on their own. So that in itself will be very tough and very that'll be a very big challenge for Matthew Stafford and this Rams offense in the future. Now, as that defense is concerned, I know Jalen Ramsey, there were little concerns late in the season last year and in the beginning of the year, but Jalen Ramsey, even though they lost to the Cowboys, was still able to lock down CeeDee Lamb for much of the game, or really throughout the entirety of the game, right? So he was still able to do his thing, right? So with the Rams, it is just 1 month down. We can't get too overblown about this because it's still the beginning of October. We still got a lot of football left to play. And also, right, Eagles versus Cowboys, one of the biggest matchups. I know I'm going to talk about this a little bit later when I bring up the spreads and the odds and whatnot. So I am going to talk about odds, right? Is the Eagles versus the Cowboys. All right, so this is going to be probably the game of the week. Philadelphia Eagles are 5-0. It's been a while since they've done something like that, right? And then they have a relatively easy schedule. So we know that, with the Eagles, they have elite talent on the line, on the defensive line, in the secondary, receivers, really the weakest link. And I'm trying to be fair with this, right? The weakest link for the Eagles, in my opinion, is Jalen Hurts. And I can't even say he's the weakest link because he's playing really well, and I only mean that in a way where obviously, right? If I'm a defensive coordinator, if I'm scheming against the Philadelphia Eagles, I am going to prepare Jalen Hurts to throw the ball as much as possible. Beat us throwing the ball. That's what I would do, right? But, against the Cowboys, it's going to be a tough matchup for the Cowboys on both ends, because Jalen Hurts can make plays with his feet. So he doesn't necessarily need to stay in the pocket. It's very different from facing the Rams offense as opposed to the Eagles offense, who's been showing out, had five straight wins. They're looking phenomenal. They're locked in from every category on that team. It's sad that I'm even talking this crazy or talking this up about the Eagles. I'm a freaking Giants fan, right? But when will the Eagles lose? When will they lose? So I was looking at some of the teams that they have further down their schedule, and we know that the Eagles have one of the easiest schedules in the league, right? So they have the Steelers, Texans, Commanders, Colts, and then they do have the Eagles. Not the Eagles, the Packers, right, in week 12. So my prediction is, right, if the Eagles were to have their first loss, I would say that it happens against week 12 against the Packers. That's my prediction. That's how I'm looking at it. That's basically how I see it. Undefined CashSports. If you need free and high quality service to increase your viewers, check. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Appreciate it, man. I'll look into that. See if you're not a scam. Right? So let me keep going into the schedule though. Yeah, so they have Cowboys. So if they manage to go through with this, with the Cowboys, like I said, they got the Texans, Steelers, Commanders, Colts, and then Packers in week 12, right? So honestly, any of those teams, obviously, it's the NFL, anybody can get it, right? But if you had to be a betting man, I would definitely say the Packers are the best team that they face further down the stretch and could potentially take away their undefeated season. But any other situation now, I mean, they have the Titans, the Giants, Bears, Cowboys once again, Saints, and then the Giants again, right? So it would definitely be interesting to see, how that plays out in the future for the Eagles, right? So, but Jalen Hurts has definitely just been accurate, and he's been making very, very good decisions as of late. And hey, it's looking like a very good draft selection for Jalen Hurts for everybody that was sleeping on him in the past, right? So this concludes another episode of Cash Sports. I am glad I was able to get this out the way, man, because every week at least I gotta make at least one video, right? I do have work coming up here at 12, another music video. Apparently, I can't say it. But I do my own thing on the side, but I do try to come on and live stream as much as possible. So the next video will definitely be odds, and hopefully I can get some guys to lock in so we can have a real NFL conversation instead of me just coming on here. I need some more football guys I can talk with, man. Some people on here that I can really talk some football with. So it's definitely gonna be interesting. I definitely want to make it a lot more interesting in the future, right? So once again, like and subscribe to Cash Sports Podcast. Hit that notification button if you guys want to see me live stream in the near future. And also, you guys see that Cash App at the bottom. If you guys would so graciously donate, obviously anything I receive will be back into the podcast, because all I want to do is just keep going and keep going upward to make sure I'm giving out content. I'm able to have a platform where you guys can come on and even make your own debates and your own arguments. And I see y'all talking shit in them comments, under my shorts, but the thing about with these shorts, I'm only so limited on some of the things I can say, so sometimes I say a word that I don't really mean to say, but then, I have to still put it out because, I don't want to not have the video out. But, you get my better perspective. You get my best debates on live streams, right? But it's easy for you guys to just come on here, talk shit to me, in the comments section, right? But I don't claim to know everything. I just know enough. I feel like, I'm an avid sports watcher just like anybody else. I don't think I know sports more than anybody else, not necessarily, but it's just all about the research. It's just all about how much you put into it, right? So with that being said, I just want to say thank you all once again for tuning in to Cash Sports. I graciously appreciate you guys tuning in, and have a wonderful day. And this is Cash Sports, man. There you have it.